What's up, everybody? The NFL season is finally back. Week 1 happening this past week. Going into week 2, lots of games to talk about. And even if your team lost, maybe you're still depressed. But at least football is back. And wouldn't you rather be depressed about your team than not being able to watch them at all? I know I would, as weird as that sounds to some of you, maybe not as big of football fans. But I certainly am happy it's here. A lot of craziness happened in week 1. We're going to review some of that and get into my week 2 predictions. Without further ado, let's talk about the first game of the NFL season, the Eagles and the Cowboys. Eagles with a 24-20 win at home. I think this game was closer than a lot of people were expecting it to be. It was closer than I was expecting it to be. Obviously, pretty crazy. At opening kickoff, we have a player go down with a very serious injury, might be out for the season, and then somebody get ejected, arguably the Eagles' best defensive player getting ejected for spitting on Dak Prescott. Listen, I'm not here to talk about the who spit first. Okay, at least Dak Prescott didn't spit on Jalen Carter. I'm not here to talk about what's right and wrong, but you can't spit on somebody, especially when the ref is staring at you. That's kind of what he did, right? But the Eagles still found a way to win without him. Cowboys and Eagles both moved the ball early very well. Both struggled. First half was very much the story was about the offenses. In the second half, it was very much about the defenses. So I'm very interested to see going forward for both the Cowboys and the Eagles, which is the true version of both of these teams. Is it the team that scores a lot, or is it the team that gets a lot of stops, or is it a little bit of both? I did see some good things from the Cowboys offense. A little bit worried about the Eagles secondary, but only time will tell. Who did I pick in this game? I did pick the Eagles. Got the NFL season off to a good start with a 1-0 record. Game 2, Friday night in Brazil. And wow, it was a Justin Herbert show. Chargers winning 27-21. And honestly, I think they played better than what the score shows. I think the Chargers were more than 6 point better than the Chiefs. That was just Patrick Mahomes being Superman. Obviously, Xavier Worthy getting hurt very early in that game. Rashee Rice suspended, so they are out their number 1 and their number 2 wide receiver. Still kept it close. Didn't have much of a run game. The defense didn't look good, and it was still only 6 points. I think this is a very good game for the Chargers. Again, Justin Herbert, one of the best quarterback performances of the week, if not the best. Absolutely torched the defenses, Kansas City's secondary. So if you're Kansas City, you have something to worry about. But despite all those disadvantages, you still only lost by 6. Maybe as Kansas City gets healthy and gets guys back, they'll be even better. And as the season goes on and they mature and get close together, because remember, there was a chance for Kansas City there, in my opinion. They could have gotten a third down stop. Chris Jones loses outside containment. He's supposed to be your star defensive player. Starts having an argument of it seems like on the sideline. But I think the Chiefs will be fine as the season goes on. Still not a loss they needed to take or wanted to take, obviously. But again, Chargers could be for real this season. Who did I pick? I did pick the Chiefs, so I fall to 1-1. Saints and Cardinals. I think even this game was maybe a little bit closer. I guess it is a West Coast team traveling across the country for a 1 o'clock game, and sometimes that means they are a little bit closer than expected. Saints offense is kind of what I expected. They kind of struggled to score. I think that they have the worst quarterback situation in the league. Nobody should trust Spencer Rattler. They still have Alvin Kamara, who made a couple nice plays. But in the end, it was a story of the Cardinals. It was back and forth for a little bit, but once the Cardinals got that lead late in the game, they weren't going to give it up. Kyler Murray used his legs when he needed to, used his arms. And I think this offense is only going to continue to get better for Arizona as the season goes on. Not a whole lot more to talk about in this game. Who did I pick to win? I did pick the Cardinals, as I alluded to get me back over 500. Next game, the Colts absolutely dominated the Dolphins, scored every single time they touched the ball. This was supposed to be a close game. Vegas had it as a close game. Experts had it as a close game. And the Colts came out and said, we're going to break this 13-year losing streak on opening day, and we're just going to blow the Dolphins out. The Dolphins did nothing right. They looked terrible on offense. They looked terrible on defense. Secondary looked bad. They had no pass rush. Daniel Jones looked really, really good. Do you know how hard it is to make Daniel Jones look really, really good? He hit some downfield passes. They really had the quick game going with some dump offs that would go for a lot of yards. The defense, 2 interceptions and a fumble, 2 Tagovailoa, 3 turnovers. And really, Mike McDaniel, I watch all these games and I didn't think he had some great play calling. A lot of drama in Miami right now. It could get ugly very early for their season, just as easily. Maybe they get it turned around and some of this talent that they have wins out. I thought, there were some guys who played well for Miami individually, but as a team, it was just really, really ugly, and the Colts just dominated them. Colts arguably should have won by more. Like, the Colts went out and just kicked their butt 100%, deserved to win this game. If Daniel Jones and the run game, if the run game looks as good as it does, and Daniel Jones can continue to find some success in the quick passing attack, this Colts team, maybe they have a real shot at the playoffs and maybe even winning their division and hosting a playoff game. This game kind of caught me off guard and unexpected. If you guys listened last week, you thought I heard the Dolphins were going to win potentially easily, and it was the complete opposite way around. And because of that, I got this wrong, falling back to 500. Raiders and Patriots, it was low scoring for most of the game. The Patriots had the lead, and then the Raiders turned it on. Even with a Brock Bowers injury, Geno Smith went crazy. 360 yards on the Patriots. They had trouble running the ball, but they could throw it all over the place. I think the Patriots offense looked good at the start and slowly it got worse and worse. Both of these, the Raiders are a little bit better defensively than I thought they were going to be. Patriots got to worry about that secondary. If Geno Smith is able to light you up for yards, I can only wonder what's going to happen with some of their other quarterbacks in their division and some of the other matchups they have. But if you're the Patriots, I think you want to show some signs that you're building, but you also aren't expecting to make the playoffs this year. It's all about the growth of Drake May and Mike Vrabel getting his system implemented. I do think this Patriots team gets better and better throughout the year. The Raiders are all of a sudden 1-0. That's the best record you can have after 1 week, right? Heading into a divisional contest this weekend. I don't know if I would want to rely on Geno Smith throwing for that many yards every single week. They do have some injury concerns around Brock Bowers. But this Raiders team, with Pete Carroll, a Super Bowl winning head coach, is definitely going to be interesting to keep an eye on down the stretch of the season. Who did I pick to win the game? I thought the Patriots are going to be ready week 1, and I fall below 500 to go to 2-3. Next game, the New York Jets and the Pittsburgh Steelers. I will admit, I got the nature of this game wrong. I thought it was going to be a low-scoring, slug-it-out fest between two good defenses, and it was the exact opposite. A 34-32 win for the Steelers, kicking the game-winning field goal with a minute left on the clock to win the game. Aaron Rodgers, 4 touchdowns, no turnovers. Justin Fields looked pretty good too, got his legs incorporated. The rushing game worked pretty well for the Jets. Maybe this Jets offense is ready to start cooking. Maybe the Steelers offense is ready to start cooking. The Steelers are certainly trying to go all in. That's why you go and get somebody like Aaron Rodgers. That's why you get DK Metcalf. That's why you get Jalen Ramsey. Maybe the Steelers team is ready to take the next step and instead of being a perennial back end of playoff, be a division winner. Who knows? The offense certainly looked good, but the defenses for both of these teams, I think, are below standard and below expectation. Both of them have some work to do during the week before their games. Who did I pick to win? I did pick the Steelers. Back to 500 at 3-3. Little bit of a slow start this week. Commanders and Giants. I thought this was going to be a blowout. 15 points isn't a blowout, but it's not that close either. Some things for the Commanders to clean up and work on, but the defense was good, and it probably should have been. Yes, the Giants have an experienced quarterback. Yes, the Giants have somebody like Malik Neighbors and some other decent pieces, but they're not ready to compete at the high level. I was expecting the Commanders kind of to hit 30. They didn't, but guess what? 15 points is still a solid win. It wasn't too close at the end. It was close for a little bit at the beginning. But the Commanders, they took care of business in week 1, which is not always easy to do without that much information on the team you're playing. Not a whole lot to say about this. This is two teams, one team trying to rebuild, one team that came out of nowhere last year and made the NFC Championship game and thinks they should be that same level this season. again, kind of went as expected. If anything, it wasn't a big enough blowout. Who did I pick? I did pick the Commanders at home. Back above 500 at 4-3. Next game, big old lightning delay in the middle of this game, weather delay. But Jaguars and Panthers. I would sit here and say that it's a battle of quarterbacks trying to prove that they have it. Younger quarterbacks that prove that they have it. The quarterback play was just okay. Both quarterbacks with interceptions. I believe Bryce Young had 2, if my stat sheet here is correct. And I think the turnovers were just as much of a story as anything. The Jaguars were able to run the ball really, really well, which is not a good sign if you're the Panthers. But again, after a long weather delay, the Jaguars kind of got a big lead early and kind of kept it there, winning by 16 points. Panthers need to find a way to stop the run. And again, they need it. Whatever made Bryce Young successful the second half of last season, they need to tap into that again. Jaguars winning this one somewhat easily, 26-10. Who did I pick? I did pick the Jaguars. Battle of Ohio, and the Browns always find a way to put the scare into their divisional opponents when they're not supposed to be good and their divisional opponents are supposed to be good. Browns have a missed extra point. They had multiple interceptions at home, just too many mistakes to overcome. Bengals offense definitely had trouble getting going. The pass rush for the Browns was in the backfield, bothering Joe Burrow quite a bit, I think, which is, again, why Burrow didn't have a lot of yards, and Higgins and Chase, I think, combined for like 50 or 60 combined. Again, so not a great day for the Bengals offense, but they avoided, however you want to phrase it, the letdown that they had last year when they lost to the Patriots week 1. Narrowly, but they still did it. Bengals are 1-0, and that's all that matters. Ugly wins are still wins. They have a lot to clean up, and eventually I do think this offense gets chugging. If you're the Browns, the Bengals are supposed to be a quality opponent, and you did everything you could to lose the game. And you did, but it was really, really close. Honestly, this game was closer than what most people probably thought it was going to be. The Browns look like they have a good rotation at running back. Joe Flacco, if he wants to start for a long period of time, right, if he wants to keep his job, he's going to have to play better than that. There's 2 rookies on that Brown team, on the Browns, looking for playing time. So, yeah, Flacco can't have more turnovers than touchdowns. But, again, still a close game. Who did I pick? I did pick the Bengals, moving to 6-3. Falcons and Buccaneers, an overtime game that was back and forth. One of the best games of the week by far, in my opinion. You had Bijan Robinson making plays. You had Michael Penix making plays. You had that Buccaneers offense looking good with Baker Mayfield. Emeka Egbuka looks really good. Add him on with the passing attack of Mike Evans and Jalen McMillan and Chris Godwin when he's healthy. Bucky Irving out of the outfield. And this Buccaneers offense looks really, really good. As long as his defense is average, this Buccaneers team could do some damage. Really, really good game. 2 teams that might be able to compete at a high level this year. Again, I'm a little bit more sold on the Buccaneers because they did it last year, but the Falcons weren't far off last season either. These 2 teams will meet again, and these 2 teams are the favorite to win their division. I expect it to be a 2-team race between these 2. Very interesting game, and honestly, the Falcons played better than I thought they would. Who did I pick to win? I did pick Tampa Bay to move to 7-3. On a win streak now. After a slow start, we're getting a lot of right here in a row. Moving on to the 4 o'clock slate, the Seahawks and the 49ers. A low-scoring game. Seahawks had the lead most of the way. 49ers, despite George Kittle going down, despite not having Brandon Ayuk, were able to narrowly pull this one out in Seattle. That Seattle defense looks good. As I was expecting coming into the year, Sam Darnold has some work to do. I don't think he's going to be that guy that he was the first half of last year. But I'm not going to overreact to week 1. There's still plenty of time for him to get it turned around. The Seahawks defense under McDonald looks like it could be pretty good. But can the offense score enough points? That's really what their season, I think, is going to come down to. And what will probably be a crowded NFC wildcard playoff picture, which could involve the team they just lost to in the San Francisco 49ers. 49ers already have so many injury issues, so many guys that they're concerned about. Might not even have their starting quarterback Brock Purdy for next week. They better hope Christian McCaffrey stays healthy, or they could be in some real trouble. Who did I pick to win? I did pick the 49ers. Broncos and Titans. Yikes. Cam Ward looked okay, especially because his offensive line was doing him no favors. Some of his receivers weren't doing him favors. Again, you get picked number one overall, you're probably not going to a very good team. And the Titans are not that. And it showed. Still finished within one possession and had the lead for good chunks of this game against a team that was supposed to dominate them and blow them out in the Broncos. Obviously, the Broncos did not do that. But you got to be, I talk a lot about sophomore slumps and quarterbacks I believe in. Bo Nix, not a good first week. Again, I'm not going to sit here and overreact. I hate week one overreactions, and the entire NFL media ecosystem does it. Bo Nix could have just had a bad week and he bounces back. Now, if he struggles again this week, then I think you have more than enough reason to be concerned. But again, guys, sophomore slumps are a very real thing, and I'm going to be interested to see how many of those rookies from last year have one. Broncos defense was still able to help them win this game by 8 points, but that offense is going to have to be better, both in the run game and in the pass game. Who did I pick? I did pick the Broncos, still only at 3 losses. Packers and Lions, if you guys watched last week, this was a late switch for me. I was on the Lions. I'm like, they still have the talent. And then I flipped to the Packers, and that proved to be the right decision. Packers kind of winning this one in somewhat dominant fashion by 14 points. This Packers team could be really, really good. Micah Parsons is already going. It already seems like he's helping that defense out. The offense, I think this Packers offense is a little bit streaky. If they don't have it, they can really struggle to get out of it. But when they have it, they can put up a lot of points quickly. And that kind of happened, I think, for a period of this game. The Lions couldn't figure out how to get stops. It definitely seems like that offense was struggling without Ben Johnson. Jared Goff without a really good offensive play caller has struggled in his career. Needs to more consistently get his playmakers involved. Needs to get it to Amon-Ra St. Brown. Needs to get it to Jahmyr Gibbs. Sam Laporta was pretty involved. You have Jameson Williams. Get the ball to the guys that make plays. And I think that's, when you have as many weapons as the Lions do, that might be the simplest way to start scoring points again. Who did I pick? As you heard me say, I flipped it to the Packers at the last minute. The Rams and the Texans. For some reason, everybody was on the Texans this game. I didn't see it. I picked the Rams, so I'm going to spoil it. I did get this one right. It was a very low-scoring game, very intriguing game. It was literally the whole adage, field goals versus touchdowns. 3 field goals versus 2 touchdowns, and 2 touchdowns won. I was expecting both offenses to look a little bit better. I'm starting to get concerned about Houston's ability to build an offensive line because it wasn't great last year, and it did not look very good in this game either. I was expecting the Rams to score a little bit more, but this Texans defense is pretty darn good. So we'll see what it looks like when they play maybe a little bit weaker competition. But again, the Rams defense helped them win this game. The Texans' offensive line didn't do them any favors, and that's going to be a massive storyline going forward. C.J. Stroud had that massive rookie year, so down a little bit last year, but was under a lot of pressure, and week 1 was under a pretty good amount of pressure. If that's going to keep up, you got to be worried about whether or not this offense can reproduce the numbers that they did in C.J. Stroud's rookie year. As I already said, I did pick the Rams to win. What a Sunday night football game. Entering into this game, I was 11-3, and the Ravens were up 15 points in the fourth quarter, and what a choke. I think it was a mixture of, obviously, Derrick Henry dominated all game, and you're going to put the ball in his hands, you're going to put the ball in your star player's hands, and an inexcusable fumble. You have to hold on to the ball there. That gave the Bills 1 touchdown. Bad play calling and decision making late in the game by John Harbaugh after that, and it ends up with the Bills scoring 16 unanswered points to win the game 41-17. to 40. That would have been such a massive road victory for the Ravens to pick up. These might be the two best teams in the NFL. They're probably the two best teams in the AFC. Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen are probably the two most dynamic quarterbacks in the NFL. They're definitely two of the top three with Patrick Mahomes. This game could end up, the loser of this game is at a disadvantage for the one seed. I firmly believe that the one seed is probably going to be one of those teams, and the Ravens could have just lost it tonight. I'm not going to overreact too much. There's still plenty. There's still 17 weeks and 16 games for these teams to play, so plenty of time for them to jostle and continue to fight for position. But that is just an awful choke that the John Harbaugh coached Ravens have been doing a lot recently. And this is certainly a roster capable of winning a Super Bowl. And if they keep having these closing issues, you got to think Harbaugh might be on the way out, as crazy as that sounds. This to me was, yes, Keon Coleman, great game. Zay Flowers, great game. Derrick Henry, great game. But most of this game to me was just two great quarterbacks not letting their team lose. Lamar Jackson versus Josh Allen. And if you're John Harbaugh and you saw your defense was tired, Josh Allen was just playing on another planet in this game. I think you have to trust Lamar over your defense. Talking about when this game was very close under the 2-minute warning and the Ravens punted on 4th and 3 or 4th and 2 instead of going for it. I think you have to let your quarterback be great, just like the Bills were letting Josh Allen be great. They did not. And they punted the ball away and didn't get it back, right? Just an incredible game between two teams. Both defenses, I think, need to step it up, and both head coaches will tell you that. But this was a fantastic first Sunday night football game. This could be one of the best games of the season, and we had it in week 1. Without further ado, who did I pick? I did pick the Ravens, so I was very, very sad that they choked because that would have put me at 12-3. And for those of you who don't know the math, remember, what our goal is to have a 75% win percentage. If you average 12 out of every 16 games in an NFL season, so you will finish with a 75% correct percentage. And the final game, the Bears and the Vikings, which featured another choke. Bears got up early, and it was super low scoring, I feel like, until that third quarter. The Vikings scoring 21 of their 27 points in the fourth quarter. The Bears only scoring 7, and that's how you ended up there. Caleb Williams and the offense looked great on that opening drive, and then they kind of sputtered and struggled most of the day. The Bears defense held down the Vikings offense most of the day, and then I think there was some late penalties, some big plays by other guys, and J.J. McCarthy in his first career start brings the Vikings back from what looked really, really rough for them for, I would say, 2.5, 3 quarters. Offense could not get anything going against that Bears defense. And like I said, J.J. McCarthy finally had him wake up and goes and wins the game. Man, Caleb Williams and J.J. McCarthy are going to be quarterbacks for a long time, you think, or at least their teams want them to be. Man, what a first battle between the two division rivals this was. Again, the Bears I think, your defense holds them to 6 points that long. You've got to score more points and put the game away. The offense wasn't able to do it. Eventually, your defense is going to get tired and give up points, and that's what happened. Vikings defense was able to hold on just a little bit longer. Who did I pick to win? Unfortunately, I picked the Chicago Bears over the Vikings in that one. Should have just picked the favorite, right? That means my weekly record was 11-5, one short of the goal. Those two late game chokes on Sunday and Monday Night Football really hurting me. Without those chokes, I'm 13-3, which is above the pace I need to be on. Last week I started 12-4, one game worse than that. Still plenty of time left. Still 17 weeks left. As you can see, last season I went 70.6% correct with 192 and 80 record. This season we're shooting for 204 and 78 and 75% winning percentage. A little bit below that with the 11-5 start, but again, plenty of time to catch up. Without further ado, let's get into the week 2 picks and see if I can't up this percentage. 13-3 would get me back on pace. That's a big week. That's hard to do. But let's see the picks. Top 5 game of the week here. Thursday Night Football. For once, Thursday Night Football actually has a good game. The Green Bay Packers and the Washington Commanders, two of the favorites, if not the favorites, to make it to the NFC Championship game as it currently stands. Green Bay is a favorite. They're at home on a short week. They should be the favorite. I also think they're probably a little bit better, a little bit more diverse, and a little bit younger, which is helpful most of the time. Um, let's get into some of the keys. Contain Jane Daniels. He is the everything for the Commanders, right? Uses his legs, has a good arm, does a little bit of everything. Contain him. Do not use his legs. I still think that's when he's at his best. That's when he will hurt you the most, is when he's using his legs. Keep him in that pocket. Try and sack him as a unit. Try and force him to throw out of the pocket and not off the run. And then these second 2 points go hand in hand. Best way to keep them from scoring, eat the clock. How do you eat the clock? Run the ball. I think running the ball also sets up a dynamic play action attack for the Packers, and they have so many question marks at receiver. I think that they should want to run the ball first anyway. I think if the Packers can move it well on the ground, I think they should win the game, eat the clock, keep the Commanders' offense off the field. If you're the Commanders, you want to force them to be one-dimensional. Pick your poison. If you think you can stop, if you think that they're a weaker passing team, make them pass it. If they're a weaker running team, make them run it. I think if you're the Commanders, you don't want Jordan Love to feel comfortable. Shut down the pass game. Make them run the ball to beat you. Make them run it up and down the field. And I think that the Commanders feel confident that they can stop that. Use all facets of the run game to set up the pass. What I mean is, I was just talking about how the Packers don't want Jane Daniels to run. Let Jane Daniels run. If he needs to use his leg, he is a dynamic playmaker. This is a very good Packers team they're playing. Maybe against some of the worst teams, you don't want him doing as much as that, but no, you want to win this game. In order to do it, I think you need to let Jane Daniels use his legs. Maybe it's designed runs, and even like all facets also means those like quick screens and pitches, and when they do those end arounds where it's technically a pass, but you're really just flicking it to the wide receiver or whoever it is coming around. So you get a lot of stuff like that, right? Use your run game, extension of your run game, make the Packers come up and try and beat you, and then that lets you find your playmakers at the wide receiver. Obviously headlined by Terry McLaurin, but you also have Deebo Samuel. Then you can get them to the perimeter easier. You can get them deep downfield. Use all of those run games. Use all facets of that run game to set up your pass game where you can then find your playmakers offensively. Who do I think is going to win this game? I have the Packers winning a close one. Sunday, the Rams visiting the Titans. Rams as 5.5-point favorites. It's always hard for these West Coast teams traveling across the country to play East Coast teams playing at 1 o'clock. It's 10 o'clock local time for LA, right? LA is still the significantly better team. I think that they should play better than the Broncos. I'll give you the keys to the game. If you're the Titans, you got to protect Cam Ward better than you did against the Broncos. You got a young quarterback making a second career start. You can't let him get beat up and to be in pressure all the time. You have to convert in the red zone. You probably beat the Broncos if you convert in the red zone instead of kicking field goals. You got to limit the penalties. They were also heavily penalized. Got to play smart football. Have to be disciplined. And for the Rams, you need to limit turnovers. How does a team that's probably worse than you get in the game? Yeah, they force you into some turnovers, interceptions, fumbles. That can give them a momentum, give them some good field position, and get them into the game. Score a lot and don't let up. Again, I think your defense should be able to pressure Cam Ward. I think your defense should be able to shut down their offense. If you get them behind the 8 ball early by scoring some early touchdowns, I think their offense will really struggle. And have a pass rush without blitzing. Right, some quarterbacks, even when they're younger, they can read the blitz, and maybe Cam Ward isn't there yet, but still, when you blitz, obviously you're leaving your secondary at a disadvantage, and it could be easier to find a quick release route or something of that nature. Find somebody in a flat real quick because you're about to get hit, and that just goes for a couple extra yards because it's man-on-man coverage, or there's not as many people in coverage. If you can get a pass rush where you can still have, 7-8 guys drop back in the coverage and you're still getting to the quarterback and speeding him up, A young guy is going to have trouble with that because it's not much of the field's going to be open because you have 7, 8 guys in coverage, but he's still facing pressure. So, if you're the Rams, you want to be able to get pressure consistently without having to blitz a whole lot, and it's going to make Cam Ward's day even harder. And I think the Rams should win this one, even if they are playing at 10 a.m. local time. Sunday 1 o'clock game, Cincinnati home against Jacksonville. And after watching these teams play last week, I'm very, very tempted to pick Jacksonville. Two very different performances. The Bengals have to protect Joe Burrow. That's probably going to be their number one key every single week. They have not proven they can consistently do it the last couple of years. But if they protect Joe Burrow, it's going to make the second one easier. Find connection with playmakers. Higgins and Chase really were a big non-factor against the Browns. The Jaguars' defense isn't necessarily a pushover either. If they're able to get pressure, it could be a long day for the Bengals offense, and they have some guys that can generate pressure. And again, they need to find the connect. They need to get that connection going offensively, getting that rhythm that they were in for so much of last season. And last, generate stops. That so much has been said about, can the Bengals defense get enough stops? We know the Bengals can score a lot. This Jaguar team can really run the ball. You're going to have to be able to stop the run, and I think that'll be most of their battle. If you're the Bengals, just find a way to generate stops. And sometimes that might come in just forcing a field goal instead of a touchdown. But if you generate enough stops, eventually this offense will get going and score some points. For the Jaguars, do what the Browns did defensively. I don't know what the Browns did, but it took away a lot of what the Bengals are good at. And if you can replicate that game plan or find some way to implement the elements that were successful in your game plan, clearly it can make it a long day. And you have a much better offense than the Browns do, so you can really, really keep them off the field and keep the Bengals frustrated when the offense is out there. Continue to run the ball. How do you keep a great offense out? Own time of possession. Run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. Obviously, it'll set up your play action game. It helps your passing game if you can run the ball well. But it just takes time off the clock, more so than passing usually does. Keep your defense rested. Keep the Bengals off the field so they can't score. And don't get down early. If that Bengals offense gets cooking early and you can't score and you're down a whole bunch of points, I don't think the Jaguars are built to play from behind a whole lot. I'm not saying Trevor Lawrence is bad. I'm not saying they don't have any weapons. I'm just saying I think the way that this Jaguars team wants to play in the way that they're built, they either need to be in a close game or they need to have the lead. Where, again, they can run the ball. I just don't think that they're going to be built to throw the ball 40, 50 times a game trying to come back. So they cannot get down early. Who do I think is going to win? I was so close to picking the Jaguars, but I don't want to overreact to 1 week. This Bengals team should still be better. I think they are better, and I think in the home opener, they find a way to win this one. Might be closer than people think. The Ravens versus the Browns, and I hate picking these games because last season, early on, the Ravens lost a game they shouldn't have to the Raiders, and sometimes they do that. And this Browns team always seems to find a way to beat the Ravens when they shouldn't, right? When the Browns aren't good and the Ravens are, the Browns seem like they always find a way to beat them. The Browns always seem like they find a way to play really close to their division rivals. And if you remember last year, the Ravens lost a close game to Kansas City. They just lost a close game to Buffalo. Two very good teams. And then they came out at home in their home opener and lost the game to a team that they were clearly better than. I'm getting flashbacks to last season. Sorry if that's giving you PTSD, Ravens fans. But as 11.5-point favorites and how good that Ravens team looked, at least offensively, you got to think that shouldn't happen. What are some keys to the game? Ravens just need a blowout. They need to prove to themselves that they can blow a team out and not have to worry about choking in the fourth quarter. Just mentally, they need that for themselves. Keep the offense rolling. Derrick Henry, other than that fumble, was unbelievable against the Bills, had a phenomenal game. Lamar was being Lamar. Zay Flowers had an excellent game. There's just so many weapons to stop, and that offense needs to keep rolling and get the defense back on track. I don't care what the situation is. I don't care how good Josh Allen is. The Ravens should feel like they should never be giving up 41 points in a game, right? The Ravens historically are these tough, physical, defense-first teams, and I think that they still have that element to them. Again, they don't think they should ever be giving up 41. Get that defense back to where it should be. And this is a prime opportunity to do it against this Browns team. If you're the Browns, you want to run the ball well, similar to what I was saying for the Jaguars. Keep the Ravens offense off the field, run the ball well, take pressure off of Joe Flacco, take pressure off of having to throw the ball all the time. You want to pressure Lamar Jackson without losing contain. It's very well documented what Lamar Jackson can do with his legs. So if you pressure him and you don't have gap integrity, it could be a long day for you. You got Myles Garrett, one of the best pass rushers in the game. How will the rest of that defensive line rush next to him? And trust the vet quarterback. Listen, I know Joe Flacco had a rough game, but just 2 years ago, he proved that he can still be a solid starting quarterback for your Browns, for the Browns. Um, I think you need to trust that Joe Flacco, going back to Baltimore, can do enough to win the game if assuming you do the first points well. If you run the ball well and you're able to just get enough stops, keep Lamar Jackson in the offense off balance enough, I think Joe Flacco can make enough winning plays to win this game. I think this game might be closer than 11.5. There's always at first I was thinking I'm trying to flush last year and flush history out of my head when picking this game because everything is pointing to this Browns team should keep this game really close. That's what history says. That's what this Ravens team says. But I honestly think the Ravens are going to be past all that this week. I think they're going to be pissed off about last week and how it ended, and they're going to go prove a point this weekend and blow out the Cleveland Browns. Give me the Ravens. A divisional matchup between the Jets and the Bills. The Jets, under Robert Saleh, were able to hold Josh Allen down and beat him a couple times. Will that still be the same under new leadership? Who knows? Bills coming off an exhilarating win. Let's look at some keys. If you're the Jets, you just scored 32 points against the defense that's supposed to be pretty darn good in the Steelers. You need to keep that offense rolling. Whether it's running the ball, whether it's letting Justin Fields use his legs, find ways to get the ball to Garrett Wilson in your receiving core. Whatever it is, figure out how to keep that offense rolling because you're probably going to need it. You need to find, I just mentioned it, find the defense from Robert Saleh days. I know it was just last year he got fired. But under Robert Saleh, this defense with a lot of the same pieces was able to confuse Josh Allen, force some turnovers, really get in his head. If you have that same defense this week, I think you actually have the Jets have a chance to go to 2-0 at home and maybe surprise some people with some early season success. Or no, get back to 1-1. They didn't beat the Steelers. I literally just talked about that earlier. Sorry about that. They have a chance to get back to 500, and they beat the Bills at 1-1. They'd be first place in the division and limit Allen's legs. Josh Allen can beat you from the pocket. You still don't want him running the ball. Okay? You want to take away his legs. You want to keep him in the pocket because those unscripted plays can become so dangerous for all of these mobile quarterbacks. Limit Josh Allen's legs and try and take away the run game in general. If you're the Jets, I think those are some of your keys. If you're the Bills, continue to let Josh Allen be great. Not a whole lot more needs to be said there. Pretty self-explanatory. Continue to build chemistry with receivers. I think that there was more chemistry and the receivers played better than I thought they would against the Ravens, but I'm not going to just say, oh, they're okay after 1 week. They very well could be, but they need to continue to play well. The last couple seasons without Stephon Diggs, it's felt like, or at least last season without Stephon Diggs, it's like there was a different guy every week. Who do you trust? All of that kind of stuff. Maybe Keon Coleman has finally arrived for the Bills and fix some of those defensive mistakes. The Bills shouldn't be giving up 40 points a game. I'm a little bit worried about that secondary, but I'm also worried about that letting the Ravens run all over them, although the Ravens do that to a lot of teams. Fix those defensive mistakes before they become a continuous problem later in the year. Maybe the Jets keep this close. I don't know. I still don't buy that the Jets are that good offensively. Give me the Bills to win this one. And our toilet bowl game of the week. One team that knew we was going to be back coming into the year, arguably two, and a team that performed horribly last week. Miami versus New England. The other two teams in the AFC East battling this week. Miami is a 1.5 point favorite. I don't know why that still says Buffalo. Miami is a 1.5 point favorite over New England in their home opener. Let's get into some keys of the game. Don't give up on the run game. I was watching a little bit of this game. I watch all the games, and it looked like Miami had a decent run game last week. They had it going early, and they just gave up on it because they got down early and wanted to throw the ball. But you can't give up on the run game in the first half like they did, especially if it's working as well as it was for them. Defensive line needs pressure. Miami has invested a lot of resources into their line. Their highest paid defensive player, Zach Sealer, 3 first-round picks. They traded for Bradley Chubb. They have so much invested in this defensive line, and it did not play well at all against the Colts. That defensive line needs to wake up, get some pressure, help take away the run game, and take away the quick passing game. The Colts really, really executed. Daniel Jones was getting the ball out of his hands super quick. They can't allow that to happen, whether it's playing man and pressing. And, while the defensive line wasn't getting a lot of pressure, it's hard to get pressure when they are getting rid of the ball so quick and getting so many yards after the catch off of that quick game. If you're the Patriots, find mismatches against the Dolphins secondary. The secondary was giving up a lot of yards last week. Did not look very good. See if you can get some connection going with Drake May and one of his receivers. Generate a pass rush. The Colts didn't really even consistently do that, in my opinion, but when they did, it really, really ratcheted up the pressure on the Dolphins. Tua looked like he had happy feet under pressure. Let's see if the Patriots can generate some and force turnovers. This might, I saw a little bit on Miami Dolphins Twitter. There's a discussion that Tua apparently didn't appreciate that I'm not going to dive too much into, but apparently Miami turns the ball over in bunches, and when you look at it, Tua has a lot of games where he doesn't have turnovers, but he has 7 games, I think, with at least 3 turnovers or something like that. You turn this Dolphins team over, they might turn it over a lot, and obviously that puts you in a very good position to win. If you're the Patriots, that should be your plan. And I want to believe that the Dolphins are going to rebound and their season's not going to go down the drain in 2 weeks, which is what I think will happen if they lose this week. But this Patriots team, I think, has some matchups they can exploit. But for now, I'm going to say the Dolphins. I do think this game could be really close and really maybe be ugly in some ways as well. For now, I'm going to take Miami. I might change to New England by the end. Saints and 49ers. I don't have a lot to say about this one, guys. There's not a whole lot that interests me in the Saints team. Their defense was well. If they can protect Rattler, maybe Rattler does something. I don't know. The 49ers do have a lot of injuries that maybe the Saints are able to take advantage of. Maybe they can run the ball, keep the 49ers offense off the field, but the offense is so injured. If you're the 49ers, you got to find your healthy weapons. Kittle's not going to be there. Ayuk's not going to be there. Jennings is questionable. Purdy is questionable. So really I'm talking about Christian McCaffrey and Ricky Pearsall. The offense has to go through those guys. That's your best chance to win. Defense needs a big day. When your offense is this banged up 1 week into the season, your defense needs to show up for you, and it should be able to show up against a Saints team that I don't think is that great offensively. And again, yeah, you have some weapons that will be healthy, but Shanahan still needs to find a way to scheme it, use that genius that he supposedly has to take the pressure off. Who do I have winning this game? I have the 49ers. NFC East rivalry game, Cowboys and Giants. Dallas is the favorite, and I think they should be. Let's get into some keys to the game. If the Cowboys can run the ball that well, they're going to be so hard to stop because they have such dynamic weapons in the passing game. They need to build on that second half defensive performance. They played really, really well against a pretty good offense in the Eagles. That entire second half gave their offense a chance to win the game. They are able to build on that performance. Maybe this Cowboys team is a playoff contender. I don't know. And get CeeDee Lamb on the jugs machine. He had 4 drops last week. Who knows what could have happened? You had Dak Prescott making a lot of the right throws, just too many drops, especially from your star wide receiver. If he makes some of those catches, who knows? Maybe the Cowboys do the unthinkable and upset the Eagles week 1 when nobody was thinking they would be able to. Get CeeDee on the jugs machine and catching balls again. If you're the Giants, you got to find a way to get Malik Nabers involved. Your offense was tamped down. Malik Nabers is your best offensive weapon. Get the ball to him and let him be great. Dominate time of possession. I don't think this Giants team is that good. So one way you can help equalize is try and run the ball, try and hold on to the ball, dominate time of possession so the other team's offense doesn't have a lot of time to score, and that can kind of artificially keep the game close. And find a way to pressure Dak Prescott. I don't think they were awful, but I don't think they were great against the Commanders. Get in Dak Prescott's face. Don't give him time to think and read. Because honestly, that's kind of what happened against the Eagles. The Eagles' pass rush wasn't as good as it was supposed to be, and now there's some other extenuating circumstances as to maybe why. But don't give Dak time to think give him time to read the defense and act on it, because that is when he obviously is at his best, and that is when he will really start to tear up your secondary. Who do I think wins this game? I think the Cowboys should win their home opener, potentially somewhat easily. Another 1 o'clock games. There's a lot of them this week. Detroit versus Chicago, 2-0-1 teams that have playoff aspirations, and you can't start off 0-2 and still want to make the playoffs. Detroit, not a good look last week. The Bears choking, both playing the other two teams in their division, in the Packers and the Vikings. Which team can rebound the fastest? Let's get into some keys of the game. Find offensive mojo without Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson's over on the other sideline, right? Who are you going to be offensively without him? You need to find out, because Jared Goff historically, unless he has a really good offensive mind calling plays for him, Sean McVay and Ben Johnson, doesn't have that great of a record. You need to figure it out, and you need to figure it out soon, because there's a lot of talent on this roster if you do. And again, I just said Ben Johnson, use your knowledge of him to help defensively. You know what he wants to do. He was just on your team for multiple years. Use what you know about Ben Johnson and try and apply it defensively and take away what he wants to do. And then, again, part of their offensive mojo, force the ball to your playmakers. Laporta got a little bit involved, as I said earlier, but I don't think a lot of the other ones did. Get the ball to Gibbs, get the ball to St. Brown, get the ball to Williams, get the ball to Laporta, and let them do what they're going to do with it. I think sometimes offense can get too complicated. Sometimes you just need to get the ball to your playmakers, preferably in space, and let them do what they are going to do. If you're the Bears, do better on unscripted drives. They came out that first drive of the game and looked phenomenal, and then really didn't do much until it was 2-minute drill, other teams in prevent defense. Do better on your unscripted drives. Don't just – you got to find a way to be good the entirety of the game and score points, and I don't know if the Bears did a good job with that most of that game. Don't sell out your defense. Don't the Bears were scoreless for so long. I mean, the defense even, kind of helped them score, right? And your defense held them down for so long, and I feel like the defense got sold out. Yes, you can't give up 21 points in the quarter, but they're also on the field all the time because the offense can't hold on to the ball and can't score. If the Bears just put that game away early while the defense was holding the Vikings down, they probably could have won and arguably coast to get there. And find some running lanes, man. Get this run game going. Caleb Williams looked shaky most of that game. He did not look very consistent. And if that's going to be the case, you got use your running backs. Get a run game going, and it should make things easier. Who do I have winning this game? I think the Lions win a narrow one. Steelers and Seahawks, a top 5 game of the week. Pittsburgh as a slight favorite, and I think I agree with that, especially at home. Let's get into some keys of the game. Let Rodgers be elite. Aaron Rodgers looked really, really good last week. Whatever you found with him, keep doing it. He has the weapons. Let this Steelers, if this Steelers offense can consistently score, they can be really good, because that's what they've been missing the last couple of years. Get that defense back to normal. The Steelers defense has been really, really good the last couple of years, led by TJ Watt and Cam Hayward. And now they have Jalen Ramsey. This defense needs to get back to normal and make it hard on teams to score. And get to Darnold early and often. No quarterback likes to get hit. Darnold didn't look great last week. Didn't finish the season last year very good. Get to him early. Make him feel the pressure. Make it, get some hits on him. And I think your defense will be well on its way to a much low-scoring performance. If you're the Seahawks, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. Don't let them cue off on your quarterback, especially when you do drop back to throw. Hold the ball. Keep the possession. Wear that really good defense down. Keep Darnold upright. If you let this, if you let this defense get to Darnold, it's going to do two things. It's probably going to rattle Darnold a little bit, and it's going to let this defense get into a rhythm. This defense gets in a rhythm, and it's going to be hard to score. And you need to keep your same level of defense last week. They played really, really good defense against an offense that has been really good historically. Keep that same level and make it hard for this remade Steelers offense to get going like they did last week. Who do I have winning this game? I do have the Steelers beating the Seahawks. Into the 4 o'clock slate, the Indianapolis Colts and the Denver Broncos. Denver a slight favorite in Indy. Let's get into the keys of the game. If you're the Colts, keep the passing offense short and simple. Daniel Jones really did well with those quick throws. I think he had one of the fastest time to throws in the NFL this week, like top 5. It was a different Daniel Jones we saw. Keep it simple, keep it short. Find a way to just take what the defense will give you, and you combine that with the Colts run game, and I think they will do the third point. They will dominate time of possession. They will be able to move the ball enough and put themselves in a great position to win. And they need to continue to force turnovers. They forced 3 last week. They're playing a young Bo Nix who struggled a little bit last week. If they can make him struggle this week and force some turnovers, he forced turnovers and dominate time of possession like they did last week. Well, you see the result last week, and I think they could do the same thing this week. That's how they win this game. If you're the Broncos, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. Sean Payton, I personally think he wants to run the ball first. You think about those Drew Brees years in New Orleans. Even like extension of your own game, you have 2 good running backs. Use your 2 running backs. Wear that Colts defense down. They were, your team is better than the Dolphins. Your offensive line is better than the Dolphins, and the Dolphins were able to find some success even with 2 of their starters injured. How about the Broncos? Run the ball, keep it on the ground. And that should help to get Bo Nix playing better. He was absolutely great last year as a rookie. Maybe let's find a way to get him back to that level, and I think it starts with a successful run game and just dominate the line of scrimmage on defense. Don't let Daniel Jones have time. Make it hard on him, and don't let him run the ball. Make Daniel Jones be the guy that beats you, and make him not be able to throw the ball early. And I think that's when people are going to remember, oh, that's who the real Daniel Jones is, and I think it could start this week with the Broncos. I have the Broncos going to Indianapolis and winning, but I don't love it, especially with the way Bo Nix played last week. Another 4 o'clock game, Arizona with their home opener against the Panthers. Touchdown favorites at 6.5. Let's get into the keys of the game. Get Murray going, right? You want to get Kyler going, whether it's using his legs, whether it's, finding his weapons downfield, chiefly of which would be Marvin Harrison Jr. Get Murray going, see if this offense can score some points. Force mistakes from a young offense. This offense is very, very young, both at receiver and quarterback, and arguably running back. Force mistakes from them, right? Bryce Young had, turned the ball over last week. If you can get him to turn the ball over, get your offense going, you could get up big early and just dominate time of possession. This Panthers rush defense was not good last week. You have a good running back in James Conner if you're the Cardinals. Try and run the ball, get Murray going, dominate time of possession, and, put this Panthers team behind early, and they might start turning it over, and you could have yourself a blowout. Easier said than done, but that seems like the most obvious game plan to me. Panthers, you got to help. Bryce Young struggled his first year and a half, got benched, came back, played much better. You need post-benching Bryce Young, not the Bryce Young you got last week. That looked like pre-benching Bryce Young. Help him find his form. You've been drafting receivers. You have a good running back room. Get Young going. And I think part of that can just be run game extended. Some quick throws to the flat, some quick screens, out routes, little drag routes, just short stuff to get it going, make the defense commit to stopping it. Then maybe you can start opening up the field for him. I also think you should run first. You have a good running back. You've been able to run the ball pretty successfully. Let's see if you can't get the run game going on Sunday against the Cardinals. And then slow down Arizona's offense enough where you don't feel like you have to pass the ball and put Bryce Young at a disadvantaged situation. I don't know how much of that the Panthers will be able to execute, but I do have the Cardinals winning this game. Sunday, 4:25, the Chiefs and the Eagles in the Super Bowl rematch in Kansas City at Arrowhead. Philadelphia is a 1.5-point favorite, and for obvious reasons. Obviously, this is going to be a top 5 game of the week. The Chiefs trying to avoid falling to 0-2. What a bad start that would be. That'd be more losses than they had in 17 games last year. I have this, just like the sportsbook, I think this is going to be a very tight matchup. When it arguably probably shouldn't be for a number of reasons. Let's get into it. Keys to the game: don't make Mahomes have to be Superman. There's been a lot. Mahomes can be Superman and help bail your team out. That's not going to win you too many games. Um, you can't make Mahomes have to do everything. You have to block for him. You have to have a run game. And I don't feel like the Chiefs have done a good job at supporting Mahomes on offense the last year or two. Find targets in the passing game. Your number one and your number two receivers are out against what's supposed to be a pretty good Eagles defense. Remember what happened last year in the Super Bowl? Um, Juju Smith-Schuster, Travis Kelce, Hollywood Brown, those guys are going to have to step up and help Patrick Mahomes out, or it could be a long day offensively. And this defense just needs to be better. I already talked about what some of the things that happened last week. This defense needs to be better, needs better coverage in the secondary, and needs to be able to take away the ground game from the Eagles because you know that they want to run it first, and you know that Jalen Hurts can beat you with his legs as well. If you're the Eagles, take advantage of a weak secondary. This secondary didn't look very good last week. You have A.J. Brown. You have Devontae Smith. You have Saquon Barkley out of the backfield. You have Dallas Goedert. Take advantage of the weak secondary and run the ball. I mean, like, this Eagles offense is so well-rounded. They always want to run the ball, right? That's always going to be a key to the game for the Eagles. But if you can't run the ball, maybe it's a little bit easier for them to bring help to the secondary. But if you run the ball well, they're going to have to stop the run. And then this secondary that really struggled last week is going to have a lot more stress on it. I'm very worried that for the Chiefs, that this Eagles offense gets going. And if it gets going, this game could get ugly just like the Super Bowl did. And just make the guys lower on the depth chart beat you. Like I said, they're already down 2. Make that fourth string, that fifth string guy beat you, and if you lose that way, well, oh well. But don't when an offense is already down a couple guys, make the guys that are down there beat you. Don't let the guys that you know are good beat you. And part of that's going to be also take away the running backs, take away Pacheco and Hunt in the run game and the pass game as well. This Chiefs offensive line isn't that good. If you're the Eagles, make Mahomes throw the ball and make him throw it to wide receiver 4, wide receiver number 5. Who do I have winning this game? I think the Eagles win this game. I'm not quite brave enough to say it's a blowout, but I also wouldn't be shocked. Sunday Night Football, the Vikings and the Falcons. The Vikings were able to complete the comeback, and the Falcons were not. Both of these teams have young starting quarterbacks who don't even have a full season worth of starts under their belt. This is actually going to be the second career start for J.J. McCarthy because, again, he missed his rookie season. Minnesota is a slight favorite. This game is really a toss-up to me. I think I trust Minnesota a little bit more. They're going to be home in their home opener. I think that's good for something, right? Who knows? But this game, very, very intriguing. Keys to the game. Vikings, do whatever you did in the fourth quarter because you scored 21 points. And if you score 21 points a quarter, you're not going to lose any games. So whatever you found offensively that was working for you in that fourth quarter, do that. And ease McCarthy into the game. It is the second start. Maybe last week was him getting eased into the NFL play, and maybe he's good to go. But, don't put too much on our shoulders early on. Ease him into the game and let him get cooking that way. And then continue to get pressure as a defense. Make Michael Penix uncomfortable. Make it hard for them to move the ball. Let that defensive front eat. And if you're the Falcons, run the ball early and often. You got Bijan Robinson. You got Tyler Allgeier. Use them, right? Everything is easier offensively when you can run the ball. And you got 2 running backs that are capable of it. 2 running backs that can do damage to the ball in their hand. Run it. Keep Penix upright. Running will help with this, but don't make Penix have to use his legs a whole bunch. I think he's a good pocket passer that can use his legs, but you have enough weapons in the receiving game where, if you keep Penix upright, he probably is going to find them and can hurt this Minnesota secondary and just use those offensive weapons. I said the same thing last week for the Falcons. They have so many weapons on offense. Use them, right? Who do I think is going to win this game? I think this is a tight game all the way through, but I'm going to give the Vikings the edge because they're at home. Even though I really want to cheer for the Falcons. You guys remember what happened last year with the Falcons. I love the Falcons, and they kept letting me down. And I'm a little bit scarred, so I don't want to pick them because they hurt me last year, so I'm going to stick with the Vikings for that reason alone. And 2 Monday Night Football games this week. The first one of which I have as a top 5 game of the week. The Texans and the Buccaneers. Houston as a 2.5 point favorite. Let's get into the keys of the game. Block better. Man, the Texans could block. I think CJ Stroud can put up those numbers, put up another 4,000-yard season, but they refuse to block. All right, so if you're the Texans, block better in both the run game and the pass game. And 1 and 2 are kind of tied, right? Block better, get the run game going, and try and keep CJ Stroud as your franchise quarterback. Don't let him get hit too much ever, right? So block better, run the ball well. Keep it away from the Tampa Bay's dynamic offense and pass rush. Tampa has so many guys that can hurt you in the pass game. You have to have a pass rush and not let Baker have time to process, because Baker has proven with the Buccaneers that he has revived his career and he will hurt you. And if you're a Tampa Bay, you need to run the ball better. They didn't run it too well against the Falcons. They need to run it better to keep offensive balance. That's when this offense is at its strongest, when they have the balance between the run game and the pass game. You got Bucky Irving for a reason. Run. Keep Baker Mayfield upright. This Houston Texans defense is good. They have a great pass rush. Keep Baker upright so he can get the ball where it needs to go to these elite wide receivers and get to Stroud. Keep the Texans behind the sticks by getting to CJ Stroud. Bucks have some guys that can get to the passer. This offensive line wasn't great last week. It wasn't great last year. Get to CJ Stroud. Don't let him cook, and keep him behind the sticks. And Texans favored again. Not quite sure why. I think the Buccaneers are the better team, and I think the Buccaneers pick up the win this week. And our final game of the week, a divisional battle between the Raiders and the Chargers. The Chargers are 3.5 point favorites in Vegas, understandably so. Keys to the game: you need Bowers to be healthy. He might already be the best tight end in the game. Just elite pass catcher, does well after the catch. They need Brock Bowers to be healthy, or it's going to be a long day against this defense. You need to try and run the ball. Really, what would be a great 1-2 combo for the Raiders? You have Brock Bowers as a good blocking tight end in. You run the ball well with Genty, and then in play action, it can set Bowers up for a lot of success, assuming you are running your play action out of a run look. You also just want to run the ball because this Chargers offense just proved they could score on Kansas City. They have pieces all over the field. Keep them off of it by running the ball. They need to win the line of scrimmage on defense. Get to Justin Herbert, pressure Justin Herbert. And you cannot don't let the Chargers run game get going either, because last year, and Jim Harbaugh being Jim Harbaugh, they will run the ball until you stop it, and you need to make them stop it. I do think, however, the Chargers didn't run the ball too well last week. They won because the Chiefs secondary struggled all night, but the Chargers need to run the ball better. I still think Harbaugh's a run-first coach. I still think they want to run the ball. Run the ball better against this Raiders defense that really performed well, although against inferior competition last week. Keep developing that pass game. It looked pretty darn good. I know they're going to want to run the ball, but again, still develop that pass game, right? Whether it's off the play action, whether it's out of the shotgun. It looked good last week. Keep it going. Prove that you can be a dynamic offense and can win multiple ways. And don't let Geno Smith beat you. He had so many passing yards last week against the Patriots. You can still use his legs a little bit. I think the Chargers should be good enough to prevent this, but you can't let Geno Smith beat you, especially if you want to accomplish the thing the Chargers think they should be able to this year. I think the Chargers are much more successful at implementing their game plan. I think the Chargers defense plays well against the Raiders, and I think they score quite a bit. I have the Chargers winning this game. Here you can see a summary of my picks. My lock for this week, like I said, I'm trying locks this year. I'm going to see if I can go 18 for 18 like it's a survivor pool. I have the Cowboys over the Giants as my lock this week. And I do not believe any of my other picks have changed. They have not. So here is a summary, and this is week 2, not week 1. Let's shoot for 13-3 this week to get back to that 12-4 average. Let me know your picks in the comment below, whether you have a survivor pool pick, whether you're picking all 16 games like me. I want you guys to do this journey with me. So if you guys pick weekly, let me know in the comments your record. Let me know how you're doing. Let me know your takes. And again, if you're doing one pick, if you're doing 16, if you're doing 5, if you're doing 8, let me see them in the comments below. Let me know if you agree with me, and let me know what you think I got wrong. Thank you for coming and listening. Please, please, please like, comment, and subscribe. Those are things that you as a viewer can do to help support me, especially if you're enjoying the content. Come follow me on X. This is exactly what to look up in the search bar. Thank you for taking time out of your days, your weeks, and your lives for listening. I hope you're enjoying the series. Let me hear your feedback. Find a couch this week. Plenty of great football on, both in the college and in the NFL. MLB is getting close to playoffs as well. Take care of yourself. Take care of your family. Peace out.